What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you 7 games that I still played despite having 100%ed them. Now, in the case of my channel, I review games after 100%, so the list of games I have done so on is fairly extensive. However, I do that for a living, which means I pretty much have to move on to newer games as they release and older titles that I need to check out, and basically I am typically always playing something new. However, these 7 titles I find myself returning to when I have the rare moments of free time in this regard. That said, I absolutely love doing this for a living, but I thought it would be fun to make a list of the games that I play, basically, when I have nothing else to do. Some of these titles will, I think, be pretty unsurprising for people who follow the channel, and I think there's a few in there that might surprise a few people. But with no further ado, let's jump into it. That said, we are going to start with the ones that really shouldn't be much of a surprise to anybody, and these are in no particular order. So with our first title, we are looking at Pathfinder: Wrath of the Righteous. This is a game I have beat to death. I would say there is no game I have covered quite as much as this one. I love Wrath of the Righteous. It's an amazing title, and despite having like 700-ish hours in it across the beta, my review copy for the game, as well as the launch version, I've played it extensively, and I still find myself going back and making builds for it, etc., and I've just beaten that game to death. It's a lot of fun. Next up on our unsurprising games list, we have Divinity Original Sin 2. Now, this channel used to be pretty dedicated to Divinity, as I made a ton of lore videos. In fact, if you want some proof of that, go to the YouTube search bar, search Divinity lore, and you will see almost nothing besides my videos. So needless to say, I love Original Sin 2 a lot, and every once in a while I jump in and mess around for a little bit. Which brings me to my third title, as well as the last, hopefully unsurprising one to anyone, which is Pillars of Eternity 2. Now, one of my most watched videos on this channel, actually, is a review after 100% I did for Pillars of Eternity 2, and it's a fantastic game. I love it. Fun fact, I actually made a lot of lore about the Pillars of Eternity series as well, but as you might be noticing a bit of a trend here, it is a game that is very much so my favorite genre. On top of all the improvements that were made from the first game to the second one, one thing about the lore in particular that I really love is the godlike, which are various races, but while they were in the womb, they were given a tiny portion of a god's power in some way, so they resemble that god, and they just make for a really neat race. I really enjoy the lore around those people. But combine that with all the politics stuff going on in the Deadfire region, and it's honestly just one of my favorite games. Now, moving on to the slightly more surprising stuff, because frankly I don't talk about it on the channel as much. That said, if you follow the channel a lot, these might not really be surprises either. But next up we have Skyrim. Now, unsurprisingly, like a lot of people, I still play Skyrim. Usually with a mix of mods or just the regular Creation Club type stuff that they released, like everything with that last update that they put out. But like a great many people, I really love the Elder Scrolls series, and Skyrim, while not exactly the best RPG all the time, as they've pared back a lot of the mechanics, ultimately the gameplay and exploration is really good, which is why it still gets played so much to this day, including by myself. And then next up we have Fallout 4. Now, I'm definitely one of the people that will tell you Fallout 4 is basically Skyrim with guns, but the main reason I continue to play Fallout 4 every once in a while is that the gameplay is very good. However, Fallout 4 is one of those games that does a lot of stuff very well and a lot of stuff very, very poorly. I can't tell you anything about it that other people haven't said more eloquently in incredibly long videos. So to sum it up very succinctly, Fallout 4 is a terrible RPG, but it is a fantastic game. The gameplay of the title is very solid. And every once in a while, I enjoy jumping in and hopping in some power armor and just shooting up a bunch of enemies in a ridiculous fashion and running around exploring, which of course largely carried over from Skyrim in that way. And it's a fun experience in that regard, though yes, as an RPG, not the best game in the world. Now, moving on a bit, for our number 6 title, we have Diablo II. Now, recently this has become Diablo II Resurrected, but I actually also had a copy of the original Diablo II installed on this computer forever. I actually made an entire video about why Diablo 2 was really important to me, which I may or may not link down below if I remember to do it, but Diablo 2 is an incredible game. I played it to death when I was a kid, and without exaggerating, I have thousands of hours in Diablo 2, and that was before Diablo II Resurrected. Top that off with the fact that I just like ARPGs as a very relaxing type of game to play, even if I don't cover them a lot for content, and you have a recipe for why I continue to play Diablo 2 in some form or fashion to this very day. I enjoy it very much, and I don't see myself ever not playing it in some capacity, even just in passing. And last but not least, leaving it off with a contentious one, we have Cyberpunk 2077. And I imagine no game on this list will probably be more contentious than this one. I have made several videos talking about Cyberpunk 2077 myself, much like many other YouTubers, and I likely share many of your opinions about the launch state of the game, as well as opinions about it in general. However, despite all those things, I enjoy the core concept. I really enjoy Night City, I enjoy the cyberpunk vibe to everything, and while, frankly, I won't really try to defend or argue with anyone about whether or not it's a good game, point blank, I enjoy it. I still play it occasionally. There you go, guys, a list of 7 games that I still play, and despite having a mixed opinion on some of these titles, even so myself, they are nonetheless games that I enjoy very much in some capacity, which is why, obviously, I continue to play them. So let me know down in the comment section below what games you still really enjoy and continue to play long after having done all of the things. Because while I do believe it's important to criticize and try to help improve the things you love, which is why I still play these titles even if I have negative things to say about some of them. Some of which you can hear in the reviews I did for the various titles. But there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.